Welcome to another episode of Discard for Magic. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron.
I'm the other host, James or Jexic, and today we're happy to bring back Bean or Beanseasly. We're doing something a bit different today. We're going to be doing an event draft where we go through the events and we're each going to pick our top 10 favorite events, but we might have them get taken by other players. It's not necessarily power level, it's also kind of just like how much we like playing the card or seeing the card get played and how fun it is. It's just kind of as we go. We're going to be doing a snake draft, and Aaron ahead of time did a randomizer to see who goes first, and I get to go first, and then Bean, and then Aaron, and then we'll go back the other way. And there'll be discussion after each event that's chosen.
Before we get started, I had a question for you guys. So, did you pick your just straight up favorites, or did you weigh, what's the most powerful, or how do you think? Because I kind of went in just going, these are my favorites, and also they're really powerful. Those are my top favorites, but I'm still looking at my favorites that are situational sometimes and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down like what's cool and fun, things I like playing, and things
Yeah.
that don't annoy me. If I see my opponent play it and they do something cool, they're like, yeah, that was cool. But if they do something that I don't like, I'm like, I'm not picking that event.
I went completely off of just fun, what I enjoy playing the most. I didn't really use power level a whole lot in it. Most of my events are stronger events and less situational, but I think that's just the correlation of like if an event's stronger, normally it's more fun to play.
Or like you're going to play it, period, right? I mean,
yeah, or you're going to play it.
Yeah.
So like, spoiler, freeze.
Yes.
You don't play a whole lot.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, I love Tundra Orcs, but I play Freeze like 1 in 10 games. So
Sorry, Freeze. Had to throw you under the bus. 1 in 96 events. You guys probably won't hear us talk about. Who knows? Maybe Bean has it on his list.
Well,
You
you
never
guys
know.
saying this makes me move it to the 10th round. I can get it there easily.
The steal of the draft.
Oh yeah. If Freeze was on unboosted stuff, it might be like very good. I really like Freeze, but definitely situational.
it's situationally good. Like I even used it on purpose, like in a deck building tournament, because I was facing cave goblins, and I know that it can allow you to deal with things when you can't attack them all.
You guys deck build a lot more than me too, so I feel like that's color this too.
And that will color my choices, because sometimes I pick one event just because like I know it's cool in deck building or can have really good applications. So some of my picks will reflect deck building for sure.
Mine definitely also reflect deck building a little bit, certain different events. So anybody who's not aware of the draft format, so like if one of us picks that event, then nobody else can choose it. So it's off the table for everybody else.
And I'm going first?
Yep.
I'm going to get this start off with a bang and go with Volcanic Blast.
Dang, that was literally top of my thing.
23rd on my list, so
Wow.
not upset.
Literally top Bean.
Yeah, it was lit. I have my top tier of my fun events, and that was like the first one I thought of and stuff. It's just so fun. I mean, I'll let you talk about it. You're the one who.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a throwback to Gror in first edition, kind of, because Gror could attack and hit everything within 2 spaces. So I think that's part of the idea. But you just spend a bunch of boosts and just wreck everything in sight. It's just fun to see all the things die. It's fun to just win games with a double Volcanic Blast. It's a great event. Like the rare times you can steal it with Ia, that's a lot of fun too. Like Volcanic Blast is it's one of the most epic events of all the epic events. So yeah, I picked it first.
I think something that I really love about it is the fact that it damages your own stuff too. It just really feels like you're just laying waste to an entire section of the world, basically. Like nothing can stand in the face of Balzar, even his friends.
He doesn't have friends. Everybody dies.
He's friends with demons.
And it can be risky too. Like done at the wrong time, like you said, you can kill all your old units and have nothing to protect yourself with. It's still a lot of fun. Now Bean's gonna have to recuperate from this and pick his next event.
Yeah, I mean that's off my board. All right, I'm up. I'm gonna go with another event that can just do crazy, huge swings and turns. I'm going with Enrage the Horde.
Ooh, number 3 off my list. Come on.
like just getting all of your little guys in position and just having them wail and wail and wail. You could do it twice too, which is something that is like just so wild. If you have two of them, it's not an active event. You can just keep on going. And it
Yeah.
like literally without it, the deck does not. I mean, Cave Goblins, like without any of their events, the deck doesn't work. They're so crucial. But yeah, I love Enrage the Horde. It's just so much fun.
Yeah, it was actually the third one I wrote down too, so it must be up there as well. Goal because it, like you said, the fact you can do it twice. Because there was a point in time the active events were nerfed to only do one active event per turn. So Ice Ram got nerfed, Spirit of the Phoenix got nerfed, lots of events got nerfed. But Enrage the Horde, the one epic that has stood out as being still really good.
Ever get Blarf to be like 4 strength, 5 strength, and then do Enrage of the Horde? Like, it feels so good.
And in deck building, if you ever throw in like Axe or Hellforged Weapon or whatever and boost the attack of something and doing Enrage the Horde with that feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Great pick. Great pick.
Off the board for all of us Cave Goblin lovers.
So I still get to go. I go twice because I'm the end of the snake here. So I still get to pick my 1 and 2. So I can't really be upset about it. My first pick is going to be, I think, the most fun event, and that's modular upgrade. Come on,
Dang.
Magcogs, modular upgrade. You can do so much with it. You can go in and do a bunch of shifts and movements to finish somebody off. You can use Magcogs to shift your units and structures and that can't move up the battlefield and just slowly advance. You can use them to like shift workshops into spots that you need. It's just so versatile, and I love using it every time.
I love modular upgrade. It was on my one of my top tier ones here too, so screw you for taking it. I had my league game this year or this season when it was Polar Dwarves versus the Forged, and I got like turn 1 or 2 a modular on 10 health and a Magcock, and it was just crazy in it what I could do. And I just spent like so many minutes just thinking like, oh, I could go here, I could do here, I could here, just playing it out.
Yeah, it's insane. I love modular.
Yeah, the surprise factor is huge.
Did it make your list, James, or no?
Yeah, it's up there. But mine aren't as directly ordered as yours, but it was definitely, by the time I got to the Forge, I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be the best event in this deck.
Wow, that's some barricade slander right there.
Man.
What's your next one, Aaron?
Next one, I think I just got to go straight with my number 2. I'm not going to try doing any mind games yet, even though I don't know if you guys will take this one early on. But I just got to go with Brutal Force.
Yeah.
It doesn't get the love it deserves, but Brutal Force, man, so much fun. I want to hit your summoner like all over the battlefield, and you can't do it almost any other way now. It's got to be Brutal Force.
Yeah, it's one of the few ways to force summoners. The funniest thing to do with it in deck building is to use it with Brub and launch Grognak into your opponent's face multiple times with Brutal Force.
It's true.
You did that to me, Jaxic, one time, or it slammed me with Brub. Brutal Force, I can never really get it as like cool as I want it to get. Like it just never works out perfectly for me. But I like in theory it sounds so cool. It's just I can never line it up and get the awesome big hit turns.
There's a famous one where Aaron was playing in the final for the first deck building tournament, and he ended up like doing 10 or 11 damage in one turn to Sarah
Yeah.
through Sanctity.
That's crazy.
He had Sanctity up, and I think it was like
Honestly,
7 or 8 hits, and then I also hit him all the way like into my side of the battlefield, surrounded by like a bunch of different Cave Goblin units, and I Baldoed behind him, which is a fun thing you can do with Brutal Force, is you can force somebody to the side and then Baldo behind them. So I blocked Sarah completely from getting back, and yeah, only did like 7 or 8 damage or whatever it was because of Sanctity, but just bounced all over the place.
That's crazy. I mean, what other event can like get you that much just wild swings and wild forces?
Yeah, definitely tainted a little bit by my deck building because I love it in the Cave Goblins deck because you have so many extra attacks and it just gives you that extra reach also. One of my favorite things to do, and people rarely expect it, is if I need that extra one space, I will Brutal Force Dagger or my Summoner or something to get up there and get that extra attack in and get that extra turn.
That's like what I've been able to do Brutal Force. Like the most cool stuff with is that because you can't like the opponent can't play around that, right? Because or they can't play around me hitting my own thing because I'm the one setting that up, right? Versus they can put their summoner farther enough back that I can't force the summoner directly, but unless I get to them with something crazy like that.
All right, back to you, Bean.
All right, so out of the top four that have been, or four that have been taken, three of my seven are gone. These are my ones I wanted.
Nice.
And I think it's time to do some mind games. So I think that James is going to take this one. So I'm going to grab it first. I'm going with Slip By.
Ooh.
Oh, that was number 4 on my list. I thought about taking that one instead of Brutal Force.
Just the versatility, like you can do so much stuff with it. You can go forward and into crazy spots. You can do it before moving, after moving. You can like play keep away. There's so many things, especially with like other stuff going on. If you had Gusto out there or Coordinate in order to combo with this, like there's so much stuff you can do with this event. I just love it.
Yeah, and the fact that it's any phase really just ups it up. I mean, it starts in the move phase, but you can do the adjustments in any phase. Allows you to get attacks from like 2 attacks from the same direction, all kinds of fun stuff. Especially combined with like Spirit Voyagers, all that other stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Huge fan of it, and like having the boost to signify that you can do it twice. I think is kind of like a cool. Like when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, they're putting boosts on this," but just like, oh, it's a double event basically, which is I'm great with that.
And it costs 1, but it definitely still feels worth it every time, I think. So, yeah.
Definitely worth it. Definitely strong, and like one of those one cost events that you know is worth it. Which I guess both of mine are right now. In Rage of the Horde, Slip
Yeah.
By. I'm paying for my stuff.
I like my stuff free.
All right, Cape Goblin main. All right, over to you, Mr. Jexic.
All right. This is gonna be one of the first ones I wrote down just because it can be any other event. I'm going with Learn from the
Nice.
Eternal Council.
Interesting one.
Yeah, I didn't think you guys would take it quick, but I just like it just because worst case scenario, you get 2 boosts on your summoner, which lets you duplicate any of your other events for longer. But best case scenario, you time it at a time where you can steal Unrelenting or Slip By or any of these other cool events. It's just a great tool, very useful. I feel like that's one of those cards you gotta start drawing early or when they're playing cards to really get the Eternal Council rolling. So I think it's fun.
Yeah, it's really easy to just play it and just get the boosts, but it's so much more fun and it's like you feel cooler when you can time it up to steal something cool. Like we talked about Volcanic Blast, just stealing.
Or like I played a whole game one time, like waiting for my opponent to play Sacrificial Pyre, so I could steal that. Because I got down to like 2 health. I was like, I gotta wait for his Pyre. I gotta wait for his Pyre. Both of his Pyres were last 5 cards. We didn't play it for a very long time. But I was holding on to my second Learn for that Pyre because I needed it, but I got a little too late and ended up losing. And I also like from a design perspective that doesn't actually take the card from your opponent. They still get to play their cards. It's not like Mimic in first edition with Takulu that would actually steal the card and they can't play it. You both get to have your fun. So I think that's a cool design aspect of it.
Sorta. I learned was number 26 on my list, so it was top 30. Definitely one I was considering. But the aspect that I don't love about Learn is sometimes your fun gets ruined because of the fact, not because of Learn, really. Learning is not the problem. It's because Edia can just persist stuff for so long. So, like, she'll take your Unrelenting and she'll be like, all right, now you can't kill my stuff for 5 turns. Go. And it's like, huh.
Yeah. I've had a game where my blinding flare got stolen and then persisted, and like I couldn't do anything with that. It's like can't do any damage when it's all squiggles.
I realized recently you can just steal Deathrite. It's an active event. and that was cool because you only have to kill one unit, and then you just get the plus strength forever.
Which is silly.
so
I
So
feel like that should not work that way, but it does make sense in premise. I feel like Deathright really should be not an active event, but that's a discussion for a different time.
So I have another pick because we're bouncing back that way, right?
Yep, go for it.
All right. So my other one is a card that is great to steal with Learn, and I've seen some very cool things from Cheez-Its and deck building with it, and that's Renewed Hope.
Yeah.
Renewed Hope. I imagine if the Vanguards didn't have this card, they'd be down yet another tier in terms of their strength. It allows them to do some very strong plays. I'd recommend that if you're struggling with Vanguards, maybe think about how you're playing your Renewed Hopes. You can refill your battlefield after you do stuff. You can use it to attack multiple times from the same direction, which is, as we've said in Summon Wars, is a big deal. And it's really good on the turns where you attack with Sarah, because then you can get a common and then play that new common. Like if you didn't have that one before in your hand, you can now then play it. You can use it to summon a bunch of stuff, put Colleen down. Like, it's just a very flexible, very powerful event, and allows you to be aggressive with the Vanguards, which sounds counterintuitive, but it's definitely a thing. So Renewed Hope gets another one of my picks.
I kind of like putting an aggressive gate down with Sarah and then attacking and then putting something in front of the gate too, to like this all of a sudden new stronghold. You have basically this new fortress and you're protecting it. All this kind of stuff. It's definitely like summoning stuff in the attack phase or in the draw phase. It's just all so much fun.
New stronghold. Are you foreshadowing there, Bean? Or?
I didn't say that. I didn't say anything.
But especially the attack phase. So, yeah, if you've ever seen any of Cheez-Its deck build games, maybe people could find replays for those. But it's just crazy what he does with Renewed Hope.
In the current Shibata Bing Shibata Boom tournament, he went from the top left corner to kill me in the bottom right corner, and I was full health, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, you can do some things with Renewed Hope.
That is insane.
It was my 18th on my list.
Yeah, it was in my tier of my favorites, but not the like strongest and my absolute favorites tier. Definitely strong though. It's definitely like you were saying, like Vanguards without that would be rough.
And it feels like they're epic, but it's not, which is why it's a cool deck building card. We go back over to Bean for another one.
Over to me, over in the middle seat. I'm gonna do one that is a deck I think we all like and is just so useful. Never ever discarding this basically. I'm going with Martial Forces.
No, I thought you were gonna take this one. I was just thinking, I was like, he's probably gonna take Martial Forces soon, so I should probably take that.
It's the like goat version of modular upgrade, basically. Like very similar in vibe. I just love it. Like you're never gonna hate having something pull in front of Sunderved, putting something out and then pulling it back to safety, like using it to pull Varn back to you, who then pulls something back to him. Like there's just so much you can do. Martial Forces, if you want to go aggressive, kill the thing blocking their summoner, then pull something in there. There's just so much use you can get out of it. Like I love it.
It's super good. It was my 11th on my list, but I was probably gonna try and reach for it because I knew Bean was probably gonna want to take it. So I love it. It's fantastic. Moving stuff all around, even like placing slingers behind you and you can do all sorts of fun things with it.
The Vargath have a lot of good events, but like this one is easily my favorite. Like their best, the one that you're always using. I'm a fan. I like the goats.
Was it on your list, James?
Yes, it was one of the ones I wrote down. I just kind of looked and I took like my top one or two from most factions, so that's kind of where my list is at.
Yeah.
And then I kind of glanced through and hope I've got some stuff left because you guys already took some of mine, probably about half of them.
You're gonna have to be scrounging and think like for some Chosen Grove or. I'm sure those events are great. I didn't put any on my list though. Sorry.
No, I didn't even rank them.
Back to Aaron.
Back to back. I gotta decide. I'll leave that one for now. We'll see if that one makes it around to me also. I'm going to pick a Cave Goblin event. I don't have a lot of defensive events on my list, but this one always just feels so satisfying, and that's Unrelenting. I love Unrelenting. When you push up with a giant horde of goblins, and then you're like, well, if you kill them, I get to play them again, and that's more fun. That aspect is just so fun as cave goblins.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you still want to kill them just to get them into a worse position and force you to resummon it, but that still doesn't feel great. So yeah, Unrelenting's strong.
It plays into like my favorite thing about the cave goblins, which is you do something brash and then basically just say to the opponent, like, what are you gonna do about it? And so you either like put sneaks in there and think, okay, maybe this is too aggressive, but I don't think so. And or you do the opposite, which with Unrelenting, and get all your stuff in there and just say, you can't do anything to kill them, really. They're gonna come back to me.
Yeah, and the best is when you can combo those two turns together. Like you bring sneaks in, and he takes a bunch of damage because they focus him, and you're like, ah, that was perfect. You left all my units on the board. I'm gonna summon more. I'm gonna sly another one in with sneaks, and now they're all in your face. And I'm gonna play Unrelenting, and we'll see how you do with that.
That's like definitely my favorite way to play cave goblins. I'm a little surprised though, Aaron. I thought you were gonna go with a different cave goblin event when you started talking about it, but
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think I'm actually gonna go with a different goblin altogether, and I'm gonna go with a sand goblin event.
Uh-oh. I love Sand Goblin events, like all of them. So
yeah.
And I'm gonna take Thrust, the Thrusters.
Thruster so good.
Similar to your modular pick.
Yeah, similar to the modular pick, similar to actually a couple other cards in the game, which we might get to later. But this one just feels so much fun, especially because of like the aspect that Crust can carry. And so if you play Sand Goblins, just like thrusting into spots to pick somebody up and then bringing them with you and then dropping them off and then they can then move again. And there's two of them in the deck, so you could have them also then thrusting. Like the amount of reach you can have is absolutely insane. And you can also thrust behind a gate for safety or like have your super gate move in. All sorts of fun things. And I just love this upgrade. It's a lot of fun, and the extra movement and mobility is always a good time.
Talk about events like I've never discarded. I don't think I've ever discarded a thruster.
Wait, you saying you've never used Bernhot or Mortars?
I've never purposefully discarded a thruster. I've unfortunately many times lost it in the sand out there.
I tend to lose detonates and silts more than I lose my thruster upgrades.
I feel like if you do, like, there's ways to get the thruster back, right, with Uncle Sparks. But if you ever don't have it, or you like have a game where it's super late in the deck, it just feels so much weaker. Like it feels like walking up sand, right? Like if you're just trudging along, you're not able to do all the fun stuff you want to do.
Yeah, it's like almost a completely different deck that you're playing.
Over to me in the middle seat again.
Yeah, back to you, Bean.
All right, so I've got cave goblins, a wayfarers, and mountain vargath. I am gonna go with the tundra orcs event here.
Interesting.
I'm going with for glory.
Really?
Oh yeah, it could go in a lot of ways with tundra orcs. They got, I mean, a lot of other good ones too. But freeze, which we've talked about.
Yeah, great event.
For glory is just so much fun though. Like you can do so much. It just feels so strong to get 2 extra damage and then still be relying on those squiggles. Here's a
Yeah.
classic Tundra Orcs thing, and sometimes your stuff just blows up.
But I mean, it's really good with shamans. Like, there's almost no bad roll. It gives you a better chance of getting that at least one squiggle, and they usually have enough health that they don't die. Like, even if they don't get 2.
At the first Gen Con tournament I did, I call this now the signature Orange Lazarus move, where he did the for glory, get a melee thing in front, hit really hard, it explodes, and then shaman behind to hit. Like I had never seen that before that tournament, and I saw him do it, and he was like rolling influence to make his stuff explode and die. Like
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the few ways to get multiple attacks from the same direction as the Tundra Orc, so it's big.
Even I'll have games going against Tundra Orcs, and I'm just feeling like pretty comfortable. I'm ahead on econ. I'm killing all this stuff, and then it's just like, nope. For Glory comes out, and the entire tone of the game has shifted.
Or it's just over. You just lose. You're like, oh, I have full health Celeste. She should be fine over here on my side of the board. And it's like, nope. For Glory, you're dead.
I think this event has been tainted for me because it doesn't always pair nicely with one of my favorite events.
Brutal Force.
Yeah, Brutal Force, which I already picked. And so this was way down on my list. I had it at 68 because I think that aspect, I've had so many times I set up an awesome Brutal Force turn and I'm like, whoa, why not throw on extra damage? Let's get some for glory in here. And then the first unit dies and I can't force anything. And I'm like, I hate it so much.
It's really good in deck building too, like with Oathsworn, because you can re-roll until you get at least 2 squiggles, and then you just get more squiggles, and you just get so many more boosts, and it just really snowballs with the Oathsworn.
With deck building, I could just see this absolutely going off. I feel like comboing with Brutal Force, I get why it doesn't technically, but the spirit of the Tundra Orcs, I feel like it definitely should. Like they could just die 1 second later, and then the push would still be away from the thing, and then
maybe that's the only like buff the Tundra Orcs need, and maybe freeze. But just change the rewarding, somehow change the timing so that Brutal Force will always happen before things die from For Glory.
Yeah, it would be like after all of the effects of the attack go through, then the thing dies if it didn't roll in out squiggles.
It's like you hit him for 6 damage with that smasher, but not hard enough to move him 1 space.
You hit him with the equivalent of a Hummer, but he is staying strong. Yeah, so I'm sticking with my For Glory. I'm keeping that even though it doesn't combo with Brutal Force. I'm fine with that.
All right, James.
You guys have taken some of my good ones. I might surprise some people with some of these picks here. The highest one that I still haven't picked yet that I thought of first was Willpower. It's another one that's great in deck building, but also great in the original Obsidian Dwarves deck. You get a boost always, which is nice, especially for people that want the boost on their summoner. And then the ability to just reroll each of your units' attacks once just gives you so much more insurance for getting to do the things you want to do. And like we said, we mentioned For Glory and deck building. It works really great with For Glory. It's just like having way more boosts on Grognak their turn. It's just a great event. Maybe not the flashiest or most fun, but it's really solid.
This one was definitely on my list. Came in at 16 on my list. In my mind, this is just the epitome of a feel good event. It's just always solid. You always know what you're going to get. Rerolls are never bad, and in its base deck, like that boost with Balzar is also always nice to have. And there's just no bad aspect to it. It's not the flashiest, like you said, but it's a feel good event. You love playing it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like a lot of these ones we've taken are like big surprise or big swing things. Like this is more of the deck is so swingy. This is the stabilizing event. This is the like make sure that the thing you want to happen happens at a higher rate, but it absolutely is needed and appreciated every time.
I wonder if I should take my next one as early as I'm about to, because I doubt you guys will. But I'll take it just because I've had a lot of fun thinking about this event and making decks for it. So I'm going with Vinegate.
Ooh. Yeah, this was not on my list.
Could have gotten that.
Yeah, I could have taken that 10th. I could have taken a 10th. I realized that now, and I was thinking I could have. But I want to give it some props because I think it's a cool event. Like a lot of times when you're playing Summon Wars, you're like, oh, I just need to draw my extra gate. I need to draw another gate so I can do stuff. Hey, what if the deck just had more gates than this one does for the Swamp Orcs and whatever other decks you're building? And the aspect of giving a boost to anything that's summoned from that gate. Again, it's not the flashiest thing, but it's really useful in the Swamp Orc deck. It allows you to just get more boosts on the table. And to the point where like your Vine gates, you often put them behind other gates to protect them. They're that useful. But in deck building, I found it to be super fun as well because you can get an Ice Smith off of it in a Polar Dwarves deck or a Yarmund right off of it and immediately use their special abilities. And that's just really cool. You can do some really fun plays with it and explosive moves in deck building. So for that reason, as soon as a Vine Gate was spoiled, I'm like, I'm going to have fun deck building this. So that's why I pick it as high as I did.
It's definitely cool in deck building. I mean, it's cool in the Swamp Works too. It's just more of a like utility player than anything else. I mean, I like it a lot more than Irrigate. I don't know. I don't know if anyone's taken that, but
They're both low on my list. I think they're both bottom like 20 for me. I don't know. I don't look at the gates that highly. They're both useful. Vine Gate might be one of the most useful events that Swampworks have. Swampworks in general, and this we might see some Swampwork events, who knows. But to me, they're just none of them are flashy. None of them are bad, but none of them are. They're just a very steady, like, oh, I'm gonna regenerate 3 health. That's not flashy, but it's not bad. It's great.
I didn't realize we were taking the flashy here. We're not.
I'm more of a flashy guy, I think.
Oh, I am too. Absolutely, actually.
Well, I mean, I picked Volcanic Blast first. I've got to even it out with some of these other picks, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm taking something flashy here for sure, and I'm gonna take something that can change every single game you play it, and that is Chant of Entangling.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
I just most recently entangled a uh, spirit mage with a rhino.
Nice.
That's the most recent one I did, and I recommend. It was fun. Have a little tiny little mage trampling over everything. Big fan of that.
Yeah. Chant of Entangling, solid one. Always fun to just bind 2 abilities together, get more abilities for your 4 common units.
Just with an archer, always is like always the best use of it, basically, too, to get extra attacks. Is huge.
Yeah, and then the Spirit Mage, like if you combine it with a Spirit Mage, they become a better double shooter than the Border Archer, and
Yeah.
for like Chant of Power and stuff.
Oh, I was gonna say I went against Chibata in his Chibata tournament, and he in the deck building.
Oh, yeah. His deck has some insane Chant of Entangling.
Especially with like Eager Adventurer.
Bloom Warriors with the Border Archers, just massive hits for like 12 damage. It was horrible.
Yeah, that deck is nasty, and it's good in Mountain Vargath too. The deck built Mountain Vargath, I think it's good there as well.
Yep. I have
Oh,
it in that deck.
I could see that, yeah.
I like to use Border Archers with it. Yeah, it's a solid pick. It was number 24 on my list. I am going to. Is there enough hate for this faction? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go with the first potion off the board, and I'm gonna take the Swift potion.
Boo.
I mean, if you're gonna pick one, you got to pick that one, but still.
Swift potion is what I went back and forth when I was ranking mine with Thruster upgrade and Swift potion because they fit such a similar vein and they do similar things. But Thruster upgrade is unlimited and can be used a little bit more in different aspects. So that one was higher on my list, but Swift potion was fairly close behind it because that extra movement after attacks, after moves, getting that extra reach, it's just a lot of fun. You can do like firing lines and just move everybody in line after attacking. You can just get that extra spot that you need. You can bounce away after an attack and get out of range of something, go behind a gate or something like that. There's just a lot of fun uses for it. And it's also really fun in deck building. I use it in my Fungal Dwarfs deck, and it makes the Fungal Dwarfs able to move. And that's fun because they can't otherwise. They just don't move, they don't go anywhere.
Those mushrooms are getting legs and moving around. This was on I was telling you guys before, my tiers of the events before this, and this was one of my events that I hate.
Ooh.
But I mean, I realize that it's very strong, but I don't like it. Like, it feels unfair sometimes. Like, I'll have the gates completely surrounded, and there's nowhere for Hecatea to hide. And then if there's Swift Potion, it's like, okay, you can attack, then hide behind your thing that you have summoned that moved 3 spaces over. It just feels like icky to me a little bit that they got this tool because it's like very strong tool, one of the strongest events, and I don't know. There's a lot of gripes with my just Grokes in general, but Like it's very strong, is what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah, it's a strong one, but I enjoy the movement is a big thing of what I enjoy
Yeah.
in events, and it grants that.
We've gone halfway through the draft. Do we want to do a halfway recap?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, I've got the lists here. We've got James with Volcanic Blast, Learn, Renewed Hope, Willpower, and Vinegate. We've got me, Bean, with Rage of the Horde, Slip By, Martial Forces, For Glory, and Chant of Entangling. And we got Aaron with a lot of movement stuff. Modular Upgrade, Brutal Force, Unrelenting, Thruster Upgrade, and Swift Potion.
And for my next one, we're gonna come in with no movement, just power, and we're gonna do Hellforged Axe. This one, if it was just base decks, I don't know if it would make my list this high, but the aspects you can do in deck building with like comparing it with like Enrage the Horde or all sorts of different fun attacks you can get out of it. I like to pair it with rogues and just get a diagonal attack off of it. So much fun. You can use it with Brutal Force and combine all three of those together, and that's a lot of fun.
It's also excellent in Tundra Orcs, like with a For Glory. For Glory plus Hellforged Axe, you can get a fighter up to 6 attack, and then they're probably not going to For Glory themselves to death, and they'll just murder everything.
And that's how James wins the first turn.
I did have a turn 1 kill one time.
To me, there's 3 Hellforged weapons, right? There's this, the weapon, and the chains.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I mean, this is probably the strongest just on its face, but it's the least fun for me.
I think me and Aaron are colored by it being cool in deck building. I can see where you're coming from, it being least fun.
The least sexy, at least. The weapon, it's like you can put it on this, that then dies, and an archer comes in, or this, and like, or the chains, gets you the reach that you never had before, and all that stuff. Axe is like, I just hit hard, you know.
Too strong.
Yeah, too strong. All right, over to me.
Yep.
Now I've got a choice here. All right, I'm gonna go with one. This might be controversial here. I'm going with Out of the Shadows.
It was higher on my list than Hellforged Axe, but I didn't think you guys were going to take it. So I chanced not taking it.
Big mistake on your part.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, it's a brutal event.
There's so much you can do with it, especially with attacking in the move phase and Moto Boots letting you move and attack in the move phase and doing all this stuff. Like, I'm still learning stuff about it. I played a game against Dawood recently where you can, like, I realized midway through, you can attack with an archer, get something behind, and then force it. And that was just really great. Or the gunner, I guess. And so just Out of the Shadows, it lets you do so much cool stuff. And just the art is fantastic for showing what's going on. Just everyone piling on someone. Definitely hard to play around, though.
Single-handedly makes cloaks a nightmare to play against sometimes because you're like, oh, they've got 4 magic. I could just die from anywhere because of dagger, you know, like.
You just always gotta have your backpack against the cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like I'm up next I get 2 picks.
2 in a row.
I'm gonna pick one that's just cool and one that I think Aaron might take, and I'll take it before him.
Wow. Hate picking, I get it.
The first one that I think is just cool. I'm not the best with the birds, but Sky Assault like seems to define that deck, I think. Like you're always just playing, it's not quite as crazy as Out of Shadows, but it's definitely like the type of event that you just have to play around and count when they've played their second one and know that the threat is gone. It just wins games out of nowhere, or at least puts you in very bad positions that you then have to play defensively for the rest of the game after they use their first one and then worry about the second one. So Sky Assault gets my vote for being pretty high up there.
Sky Assault is great and just so thematic too. Of like, yeah, these are things that fly. They should be able to attack through stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for the deck. I had it just outside my top 30 at 34, so.
Well, hopefully I'll take this one from you.
Yeah, we'll see what you got.
The next one is Demand.
I thought that's what you were thinking about, Jack.
No, not really.
You didn't want that one up there?
29th for me.
Well, I thought it might be just because it's a Fungal Dwarf event, and it's the most fun Fungal Dwarf event in my opinion.
It is, yeah.
It's it's like the saving grace for me for the Fungal Dwarves because there are a lot of decks that kind of play this grindy econ game. And like the Shadow Elves and the Cloaks have ways to just end the game with Out of Shadows and other stuff to kill you. And the Fungal Dwarves do too. Demand is the merciful card that lets you end a game that you're winning. And it allows you to do some cool assassination plays in some situations, like you're playing against the Storm Goblins and you think you have no shot, but oh, if I, demand this beast and then shoot with another Blight Mage from behind and demand again, maybe I can win. Demand gets my vote for a solid pick and fun in deck building as well. I talked about Cheese a lot before, but he used Demand in his Renewed Hope deck to do wacky stuff. It's a Shadow Elves deck that can just kill you from anywhere, and Demand is a big part of that.
Yeah, demand also for base deck is sometimes like your get out of jail free card. Like if you're getting beat as the Fungal Dwarves, sometimes you just got to think, especially if you have two demands, you're like, huh, can I just attack him and win this turn? And sometimes you can, even if it's like a 60-70% chance is not like the highest. Sometimes you got to go for it because sometimes that's your get out of jail free card. Just take that double demand, even if it's like a 50% chance, 40. You never know. Win you the game.
I just recently had a game against Orange Lazarus again, actually, who was the Fungal Dwarves, and he had a beast attack me, demand it, had a mage attack me, demand it, and then another mage attack me for a cool 18 dice. Is that the math right?
Nice.
On that?
Nice.
It'd be 12 plus 6, so yeah, 18. I was a full health blocks, and I was down to 1 after that, so that was...
Nice.
Did you win then? Because you got you down to 1? I wonder what the odds are of him killing you, though. It seems like it's pretty decent, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he hit 12 out of 18, so
Yeah.
66%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 of them were melee, so yeah, he should have got you.
Shoulda.
Well, he beat me anyway at the end, but okay, I'm gonna go with one. I didn't want to take this right after Martial Forces, but it is in my top tier. It is similar to Martial Forces, that's why I didn't want to take it. I'm taking Oblige.
Ah, a good one.
Always good, always strong. So many uses, so many different weird edge cases you could find with it to do crazy stuff. I'm just a huge fan. I love playing the high elves, and Oblige is like definitely a big part of that because you just feel like the bully.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, I gotta be able to win here. It's gotta be possible. Either obliging my own unit or their unit. Something's gotta give, and it usually does. So
Obliging something, then attacking, then forcing, then like there's just so much reach you have with them. It's insane. I like playing against polar dwarves with them and just grabbing their 5 health stuff and being like, all right, you're basically dead now.
Yep. Yeah, it's basically a free common kill if you want. You can use it to protect yourself. You can use it to get like assassinations. You can use it to move something out of the way so something behind it can shoot. There's so many different aspects you can use Oblige. It's a solid one. I had it 19 on my list, so pretty high up there for me.
That's a top tier for you right there, 19.
All right, I think I'm gonna take one that I've been waiting on because I knew you guys probably weren't gonna take it, but now I'm running scared because I got people taking ones that I really want. So I'm gonna come in with Purge. It's my number 5 on my list, but I've been holding off because I figure you guys don't really play the Fallen Kingdom. You probably don't love Purge like I love Purge.
I don't even understand how Purge works. Like,
Well, let's read the card. You do 2 damage.
I think what James means is the archer interaction of like, but Purge
it
is,
confuses me, but it's fun. And I
yeah,
remember I like the days when people would use Purge to kill all their own units, and instead of using Blood Summon to do it before that interaction was either understood or coded properly or whatever. But I remember using Purge to kill all my units and then attack with an Undead Warrior, but now people just do Blood Summon with that.
I still like using Purge. Like that was always my go-to, and I love like big Purge turns of like double purging and like Purge tapping in an archer to like get an extra Purge on somebody, and then Like, it's such a fun card. Like, purging your own units to get archers to move up the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Purge leaping an archer all the way up the battlefield to try and get like a less than 3 health summoner to die. Like, all sorts of fun aspects. And I love it. I love it in practice. I love planning out purge turns. I love every aspect about it. And it's just a lot of fun damage. Like, 2 damage on everything, and then 3 if you're using cultists. It's fun to do.
Yeah, I love Purge too, and the 3 with the cultists is huge, and just the being able to get an archer from all the way across the board too is just a lot of fun. That's my favorite event of the Fallen Kingdom for sure.
All right. Now my next one is a little bit of a harder choice. I am running out of events that are in my top 15. I think I'm going to go with the counterpart to the one that I missed out on in Out of Shadows, and I'm going to go Moto Boots. Moto Boots is another movement one for me. Surprise, surprise. Uh,
Purge kind of was too.
Purges too. I mean, like half of mine have been movement, more than half. Even Brutal Force, that's movement. Come on.
Yeah, if it lets you force yourself or enemy
Yeah.
units.
I have 2 non-movement ones currently with Unrelenting and Hellforged Axe.
Unrelenting, you get stuff back that then moves, so I'm gonna count it.
Yeah. Hellforged Axe can kill your unit to move it to the discard. I mean,
There you go.
everything's a movement one. But Moto Boots, so much fun. You can go through units, which I think is one of the most fun aspects. Not a lot of cards allow you to like thrust through a unit and go through it, and that's a really fun aspect. You can use it to set up big Out of Shadows turns. You can use it just to bounce blocks out and shoot, and then bounce blocks back into safety with like the machinist, and use the attack ability to move back in. You can use it to like get a gunner really far up and try and do some fun movement aspects there. You can use it to get a dagger play. Like, there is so many different aspects you can use it for, and I love all of them. They're just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love them too, and just the different aspects of using it on a machinist, using it on a sniper who can then basically shoot anywhere through anything. Like, there's lots of different fun stuff you can do with it. Putting it on a bandit who then gets to the back row and gets you a magic. It's good stuff.
And also just the fact that blocks can copy that unit and also get Moto Boots is a big part too. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of movement stuff, Aaron. What else we got that you could grab?
well, you can't get slipped by. You took that, so
Yeah, I would have wanted slip by too. It could have been more movement.
All right, well, I'm gonna take a movement one actually from you, and I feel like this is on your list somewhere, but this is my last top tier one, and I've been saving it because I thought I could get it here, and I got it here. So I'm gonna get Sneak.
It's
Yeah,
not very high on my list.
really?
No.
I'm saying Sneak is good, but it's often it's one of the few cards I'll actually discard in terms of events for the Cave Goblin. Sometimes, maybe like one a game I might discard if I don't have a use for it now.
Yeah, you can definitely have some fun turns with it though.
Yeah, I feel like it unlocks the whole board for the Cave Goblins. Like, there's nowhere they can't reach with a Sneak and a Clinger and a Climber and all this.
Yeah,
Like,
and you can either like sneak before you use the clinger or after the clinger to get it around them. Like, yeah, it's definitely cool.
yeah. Helping out my favorite unit in the game, the Clinger. I am.
One of James's favorite units too. James loves the Clinger.
It's his profile pick on online.
Really?
Yeah.
The Clinger is my avatar and deserved.
I feel like this is kind of swapped because like I have Torridon as my profile pick right now, and you have a Clinger, and I play. You play a ton of caves too, but you play more Fargrath than I do.
Yeah.
I
Well,
of course have Brub, but
we need to have some combo of Klinger riding on Torridon, and then Brub is the one who's actually driving. Yeah, I just love Sneak. Like, you can't. There's times where you have to discard it, like you guys are saying, because just maybe you just don't have the stuff on the board to use it. But I love it, and I feel like it's so crucial to the cave goblins.
Yeah, I think it's a little lower on my list. It came in at like 53, so like almost middle of the pack. Because of the fact that it's like one of the first cards I take out when I deck build with cave goblins.
Hmm.
Because I think it's one of the least crucial to that deck, like in deck building at least. And it's one of the ones, like James said, that am willing to discard when I play Cave Goblins, and I try and discard nothing, especially when playing Cave Goblins, mostly when playing anything. But yeah, so it's definitely a fun card. You can have some super fun turns with it and unlock other things. And sometimes I'll wait to like set up a turn with sneak. Someone's hiding really far back. Gotta wait for that sneak turn. I can still get this, but I don't know. It's not as high on my list.
Well, your loss.
I'm gonna take one from one of the more underpowered factions these days, but this is a very cool event to me, and that's Spearhead. Who doesn't like getting more strength with your summoner and the ability to attack diagonal? And you can just keep the event around if you have a champion. And I love to play champions, so it just kind of fits in with my natural playing style. So for deck building, I have 3 5-cost champions in my Tundra Orc deck, but I discard heavily to get them, and then the Spearhead just unlocks like a whole new level of things that Grognak can do. He can attack more safely and do all kinds of stuff and hit for 5. I like it in deck building, and it's great with Namira, as you know, as good as Namira can be anyway. A lot of times I think her wins are either because of that or like saving herself with Wade in, that kind of stuff. I don't know what you guys think about Spearhead.
I'm a fan. I think it's their best event, like easily. Well, High Tide maybe, but I think Spearhead is probably the best one, and the fact that you can do stuff that makes you feel smart to keep it around and like just have it for potentially infinite turns is awesome.
Yeah, it was another one that was like in the 50s for me. I like Spearhead. It's my top Shimmer Sea Fae event. I just don't love all their events. Spearhead, I feel like in practice, like you can keep it around, but often people just will like target those champs, so you don't keep it around, which makes sense.
Then you get a champ back into your deck, though.
Yeah, it just doesn't always feel as good as I feel like it could, but it definitely can have some fun turns, and you can definitely do some sneaky plays with it.
There's like 3 or 4 that I still want to get, and I know I'm not gonna be able to get them all, but I don't even think you guys will pick any of them, but it's just a question of which ones I think I want to showcase my thoughts about the game. I'm gonna go with Chant of Power from the Savannah Elves. It's an epic event, but it reuses an ability, and that's one of the things I kind of like in the game is when they reuse abilities, but it's reused in a different way. The ability that's reused is
Imbued strength.
Imbued Strength. So Imbued Strength gives you +1 strength per, which is dice per boost on the unit, up to a maximum of 5. So Blarf has it, Undead Warriors have it, all these different units have it, but Chant of Power here in a deck that's built around boost suddenly allows any unit to just hit really hard. So your Spirit Mages, your Border Archers that can attack twice with Chant of Power, Makandaru doing the same thing. So it's like the combo to watch out for in the deck is like, you have to play around Chant of Power for sure. I know you mentioned Chant of Entangling, but often your Chant of Entangling plays are combo with Chant of Power too, so I think they're both very important for the deck.
I mean, nothing better than getting a lioness who is entangled with an archer who then has a lot of boost that you can chant of power, like
Swing for 16 or something.
out there destroying everything. Chant of power. What the OG epic of all epics. Alright, I'm gonna go with one of my personal favorites, which doesn't feel like it should be as good as it is, but I love it and I feel like it is so powerful, and that is the Astral Waypoint.
Ooh, that was on my short list.
That was one of mine that I wanted to get into, so I'm glad you picked it.
Yeah. I love just putting this little tiny little pyramid on the board and it unlocks everything for you. You can keep it around as long as you're able to keep it around, do crazy stuff with tests with it, like do stuff, do what we're talking about with cave goblins, basically, of bringing in Celeste, attacking, and then being able to essentially sneak out of there.
Yeah, and also just the fact that it's only got 2 hit points, but it's such a threat. So your opponents have to like weigh whether they want to like kill your units or that. So it's a good tempo play, even if you don't have anything to do with it right now. Just throw it out there and mess with them. Like this could kill you if you do not kill it. This could be Celeste throwing 7 dice in your face if you do nothing about it. That kind of thing.
Well, it's 2 hit points too, but it also is, like, strangely tanky in the fact that it's not a unit and it's a structure, and so you can't be, like, pinged for damage in the Phoenix Elves, it can't be forced, it can't do, like, a
Yeah.
lot of the stuff that people will do in counterplay against unit threats. And so it's just its own thing that is really thematic, and the fact that you place it next to one of your units too is very Wayfarers themed.
Yeah, I think the aspect that you place it next to one of your units, which gives you so much more opportunity to play a structure than like all the other gates in the game, all the other structures in the game. It opens up so many possibilities to place it in cool spots. And playing it with Tess, if you have not played Astral Waypoint with Tess before, do
Feels
it.
unfair.
It's so much fun. Even if you don't win that game, like it's so much fun just to like
Yeah.
move Tess up, toss her to the Astral Waypoint. Then Celeste can still use the Astral Waypoint. And so like you can get all these fun combo plays where you're moving the Astral Waypoint multiple times in a turn, and that is just a blast.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
it to Beans not too long ago.
We
And
don't need
that
to talk about that. No, that was awesome. That was definitely I was just sitting back and just chuckling to myself.
Yeah, this was my number 15, so
So up there for sure.
All of us, a big one for all of us.
all right. Don't have many left in my top 15. I have two, so I could just round those out, but I'm unsure about one of them. So we'll go with the other one first. This is going to be the first on anybody's list. I know you James especially loves these guys for the Storm Goblins.
Yeah.
Overcharge.
Oh yeah, I mean, Overcharge does a lot.
Overcharge is a lot of fun. You get to do extra damage with the circuit ability, with the shocking effect. But more than that, way more fun than that, is the increase to the numbers on all the cards. And you get like extra attack with your ranged units, and Braca can move farther, and Ezek might be my favorite with Overcharge because Ezek gets an increase to the reach grabbing portion. All of it's fantastic, and it just makes the entire deck feel even more thematic and just increased shock and awe.
Yeah. I'm glad you picked this one because this was definitely my favorite Storm Goblin event, and like you're saying, it just has so many different things you could do with it, which is just so exciting. And it's just straight up powerful, even if you just use it in the most like boring way. It's just 2 damage to everything on the board, essentially. It's never gonna hate that.
Yeah, just wipes out cultists and carriers and stuff.
Hmm. Not waypoints.
It's true.
All right, Aaron, last pick in the draft for you.
I got a couple. I think I'm going to go back to the Cave Goblins. And I'm going to end it off with Pylon.
Nice. We've taken every cave goblin event.
Cave Goblins are just a lot of fun. And Pylon is another one of their events that sometimes I will discard because you can only hold it for so long. But when you get those perfect Pylon turns, like people have created entire deck building decks based on just getting perfect Pylon turns.
Yeah.
Dark Tommy. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but one time they had like a Wayfarer's deck with Pylon, and they threw like 23 dice at my Grognak in one turn between Pylon and like an entangled border archer or something ridiculous. It was crazy.
It's just a lot of fun. You get to throw a ton of extra dice. Even when like I lose by it, I can never be that upset. Like I can't remember who. Oh, I was playing as the Sand Goblins, and I had 2 climbers come next to Krusk. Pylon was played, so they were rolling 2 dice each, and then 2 enrages were played, and I died that way. And it was 12 melee dice. I had full health, and that's how I died. But I wasn't even like that upset. I was just like, wow, that was just, you went for it and you got it. it's a fun card to get more dice on everybody.
The fact that it can combo with Enrage of the Horde, it just brings it up such a good level. Like, it could have been bland and been like, for the first time you attack your turn, you get this. It's like, no, it's just all attacks, all your little guys.
One thing I like, you guys are pointing out that Cave Goblins are actually one of the decks that have changed the least from first edition, and Pile On was called Goblin Horde Attack and did the exact same thing. So I love that it's still here, like from first edition, and it's just they're one of the decks that basically survived the change and are a lot of fun still.
Cave Goblins as a deck, I mean, we're all fans of Cave Goblins in this chat right here. But really, the events are, as I was going through this exercise and ranking stuff and how high I had all the Cave Goblin events, it's like, yeah, that's the huge, huge part of why they're so much fun to play is these events and what they're able to.
100%.
All right, on to my last pick. I could do something that I think is stronger, but I'm gonna go with one that I think is just fun and always like the first time I read it, I just laughed. And then when I played against my buddy, the first time he read it, he laughed. And it's just wild that it exists and works and is as able to function as it does, and that's the barricade. Why does this just 5 health blob able to just be put down and that's an effective event? This thing is awesome, and it's just this little thing you put down. You can put it down and do some damage. You can put it down, block a gate, put it down in the attack phase after you killed something, and put it in that spot. I love it. It's so strange and bizarre. It has 5 health, so it's got a lot of health. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
My last pick was going to be very similar. I think it still will be. But it's probably one you guys wouldn't expect me to pick necessarily because I'm not known as a Polar Dwarves player. But I'm going to go with Parapet because, they're in the master set and they were one of the first. Like, this is kind of like I talk about, Cave Goblins barely changing from first edition. But this is one of the few events that, like, kind of define something, I think, in the design of Summoner Wars second edition that we can have an event be a structure, and do something else. And but it's still pretty simple. It's just got 5 health and you can shoot through it. It doesn't have a lot of text, but it ends up having huge implications for the way the Polar Dwarves play, especially with Svara being able to move them around or force them around rather. And I just think it's a very simple, very cool, very very nice design. It kind of leads to like some defensive play, which isn't necessarily my style, but it's still cool. When I first started playing, the Polar Dwarves were the first new deck that I really latched onto. Like, I like the Cave Goblins because they were Cave Goblins, but Polar Dwarves, I kept saying that they were the coolest. That was my little meme that I tried starting. Parapets, I love them.
I love a parapet too. It's just like you're saying, it's so simple in concept and text and just so like useful and different ways you can do it.
Yeah, Parapet's a solid one for sure.
All right, do we want to recap these teams we got here?
Yeah, I was thinking a recap and then 1 or 2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
All right, so we got Jexic here with Volcanic Blast, Learn, Renewed Hope, Willpower, Vinegate, Sky Assault, Demand, Spearhead, Chant of Power, and Parapet.
My honorable mention goes to Detonate just because the art is just so fun.
Yeah, that was on my short list too.
I was like, Detonate, the guy just looks so happy flying off that motorcycle. And it's a cool event. I came close to picking it. Yeah, so that's my honorable mention there.
All right, we got me with Enrage the Horde, Slip By, Martial Forces, For Glory, Chant of Entangling, Out of the Shadows, Oblige, Sneak, Astral Waypoint, and Barricade. And I'm going to give my honorable mention to Ramming Advance, which is situational, but boy, do those situations feel good. And then we'll go to Aaron, who's got Modular Upgrade, Brutal Force, Unrelenting, Thruster Upgrade, Swift Potion, Hellforged Axe, Purge, Moto Boots, Overcharge, and Pile On.
And my honorable mention is sort of twofold. They kind of go together. Mine is Ram Shift, Glacial Shift, and Ice Ram. I love that block puzzle of like bouncing people's units around. And they used to get a little more hate because you could bounce people's summoners around. But I love that aspect of Polar Dwarves just shifting everything around, taking it all back, and like looking at it again. And you're like, huh? If I push this here, can I get an ice golem up to there? If I hit my own ice golem, then maybe.
Oh, it's always a interesting thought experiment of what can you do. You can definitely do something. It's funny looking at these teams. Like James, your team is very much built on getting extra strength and attacking in one direction. And Aaron, yours is all about movement and like dinking around and all this stuff. And mine is kind of like a combination of the two, I feel like.
I think there's some good lists. We'll let you guys decide which one you like the most, or if there's any events you think we left off that are egregious and never should have been left off. Let us know.
Maybe we put a poll out in the Discord after this episode comes out and see whose wins.
Yeah, we could.
Who won the draft?
Mine, obviously.
Maybe. I don't know if that. I think that egregious lack of picking out of shadows might have hurt my side. I just still think I have a very strong draft. Out of shadows, the one that got away.
He's with me now, so you're gonna have to get over it.
I hope you guys enjoyed this draft. Let us know if you did, and maybe we'll do more in the future. Maybe we'll do like champs or commons or whatever you guys are looking forward to. Bean, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And this has been another episode of Discard for Magic. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks.